Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Do. What are we going to talk about on this episode of Bitcoin for Introverts?
Is this what this is? Well, we have a few topics. We could just check off the list right
We
here.
do have a few topics we can just check off the list. This episode is brought to you by that existential question of, do you need funding? Do you need funding?
I do not, but I know that there are a number of small businesses and startups who do need funding.
That's
and
right.
Maybe VC funding is not the way to go, or maybe not the way to start, right? And so the whole point is to be able to share that startups and entrepreneurs and small businesses, you do have options.
That's right. Everybody's always trying to get funding. We talk about crowdfunding. We really talk about customer acquisition, because there is no capital better in the world than sales or revenue, actually.
Right.
Revenue is the best capital in the world. So if you need funding, if you're struggling with funding, if you're like, oh my God, the startup life is so hard, you probably need to get our Jobs Act Equity and Debt Crowdfunding Workbook, because it actually helps you address the funding question. So now that we've paid the bills with that little commercial.
Right, and just to add, we do have a masterclass coming where you will, if you come to the masterclass, you'll get one of these books, and we'll go through what equity and debt crowdfunding campaigns are and how that might help you and your business grow.
Yes, so that's not December 7th, September 7th here in Washington, D.C. We're taking a little bit of a break for the summer, but of course, if you have questions or comments or you need our help before then, you can email Maureen at CrowdieAdvisors.com or myself, Samson at Axes and Eggs. So, infomercial over, gotta pay them bills. Let's talk about looking at our list, digital power of attorney.
Yeah, so I saw a tweet earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, about someone talking about a talk show or a podcast where an attorney was on talking about people who needed to take into account how they would pass on their digital assets or their cryptocurrencies to their loved ones. And I thought that was an interesting topic to talk about, because I think that's one of the things we don't really discuss in terms of how we pass on these digital assets as they gain and lose sometimes value. How do we pass that on, and what are the legal implications of passing those things on? Yes.
Oh, thank you for calling on me. I would just like to point out for the record, I brought this up to her last year, somewhere between Dubai and Mauritius.
Yeah,
you did. That people needed digital powers of attorney for their Facebook, their Twitter, their Instagrams, yes. Because in the unlikely event that you pass away, what happens to that stuff?
Right.
So you need a lawyer like Maureen to actually go in and say, hey, we understand this is an archive of this person's life and this person's memories, and give someone the power to actually either A, delete all your DMs,
right.
super important, or B, preserve that and carry that on, or give someone else access so they can go back and reflect on your life.
Yes. And so we just bring that up so that you can keep that in mind. So not only digital assets, cryptos, etc., but your online information. And just generally speaking, I think people think that if you're going to have an estate or you're going to have a will, that you have to have a lot of money, and that's not true. Oftentimes, the people who need a will the most are the people who don't have that much. So
yes. So this comes up for myself as a couple of cryptocurrency wallets, as well as SamsonWilliams.com. That is a digital asset, and I want to make sure that it stays within my family. So if you need a digital power of attorney or a digital will, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know if there's a term for it yet, but I think
can we just make it up?
We can do it. DPOA. There we go.
If you need a DPOA, email Maureen. She'll work it out. And that stands for digital power of attorney. See, we just made something up. High five.
All right.
Okay. Moving right along in our list of awesomeness for this episode, I've got a note here about taxes and cryptos.
Yes. So I follow Crypto Tax Girl. She was awesome. And she shared a story about someone she helped, and they didn't have to pay as much taxes as they thought they were going to based on whatever their portfolio is. So this is just a PSA to remind you, cryptos and taxes are still a thing. The IRS is paying attention. And nowadays, with all the software that's available, they can find out who is not paying their taxes or who is not claiming some of these cryptocurrency assets. The other thing is, if you have a Coinbase account, you may have noticed that Coinbase also has put out notices, right, stating that they provide some information to the Internal Revenue Service. And in addition to the IRS, because that's federal taxation, also be mindful of the tax rules in your specific jurisdiction. So a lot of states have taxes and then all the way down to the county or city level. So just a PSA, cryptos and taxes, still a thing.
That's right. You're never going to be decentralized enough to get away from Uncle Sam. He's literally everywhere. He's literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Switching gears just a little bit, my other bullet point that we wanted to talk about. If I want to get started in the cannabis industry, what is the first thing I need to do?
I guess the first thing you would want to do is research the location of your cannabis business. Where would you have it? It may not be in the location that you currently live, because that might not be something that's legal in your state, right? We already know federal government has their own thoughts about it. But in terms of states, you might want to determine which state would be the best place to do it. And not just, they have, cannabis-friendly laws, but you also want to keep in mind how easy it is to actually do business there, like get a bank account, pay your taxes, etc.
Yes, so in a shameless plug, we're going to be at the avantpay.io.
Yes, the conference.
The conference, it's in September. I forget the exact date. That would occur to me. Avantpay.io, you can check it out. It's cryptos, cannabis, and payments. And so there's that nexus of talking about taxes. You need to pay taxes on your cannabis business. How you actually do that, that's a question you want to ask Maureen to help you set that up and structure it so you can pay your taxes. Because Uncle Sam really doesn't care what you do so long you pay him his taxes, pay him his cut. And
you also want to be able to pay your employees, you want to pay your vendors and things like that, and not everybody wants to deal with crypto, so that's another thing I think they'll be talking about at the conference.
Yes, FICA, Medicaid, Medicare, state unemployment tax, federal unemployment tax.
Workers' comp, all those things.
Right. It's so funny where entrepreneurs, they don't realize they're about to become administrative professionals in how to run a business.
Right.
This is some things folks like myself have learned the hard way. So having paid the iron price, visit avantpay.io, come to the conference. It'll be a lot easier. And visit CryptoTaxGirl, follow her on Twitter for additional tax tips. My last box is business formation, but that really just goes back to what's the first thing you want to do if you want to get into the cannabis industry. You actually want to form a business.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I mean, if you want to get into any industry, right, I think first forming a business is the first thing to do. Yeah.
So remember, as part of your business, you need a DPA, and that stands for Digital Power of Attorney, because your business might have its own IP or digital assets that it wants to protect. And so again, call Maureen. I've actually told them to only bother you, which is great. So I don't actually want to do any work. So if you have any questions or comments, she's speechless. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. And remember, if you need funding and you're having challenges with that funding, you can get our Jobs Act Equity and Debt Crowdfunding workbook, again, at Maureen's website, CrowdieAdvisors.com. We'll drop that down below. Anything else you want to include to wrap up this session of Bitcoin for Introverts?
No, just have a wonderful weekend, take some time for yourself, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
Bye. Oh, follow me at Crowdie Advisors. I meant to say that earlier. At Crowdie Advisors on Instagram or Twitter, and I also have a Crowdie Advisors Facebook page.
We'll drop the links down below. Follow me, follow her, ask her all the questions. I'm going to go to happy hour now. Bye-bye.
Bye.